First thing I want to lead in with is this here. Donald Rumsfeld famously said, and I'm just going to cut to the middle part, the chase here. There are unknowns. So there's things we don't know. Now, one thing that you mightn't know, Professor Huberman, neuroscientist at Stanford, and also my advisor and mentor, Dr. Anthony J. Now, Dr. J did a 5-year PhD in hormones. And I quote from Huberman, there are men in their 90s, and they are not rare, as it turns out, that are making as much testosterone and dihydrotestosterone as they were in their 20s. Dr. J said the same thing to me. He said it's surprising how little it comes down when you optimize your health, but we've been screwed. And I'm going to show you the research here on this video. It's going to piss you off, but at the same time, it's going to set you free. And when we get to the end of this, I'm going to show you one thing, just one thing that can completely crush testosterone and all of your hormones. And it's one of the first things that we work with when we're helping people is we get this one checked. And if it's out, it can take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks or 6+ months to fix. But it's simple to fix. It's not rocket science. Now, I can remember back in the day when I went to my doctor and I said, listen, man, I was having panic attacks, performance anxiety, and I was drinking too much. I was drinking so much that I was even hiding beer bottles around the house, and my wife wouldn't know how much I was drinking. I felt like a lazy loser. I had low T. I was packing on the body fat. I was tired and apathetic. And I certainly had low testosterone. My doctor didn't want to test it. He just wanted to prescribe drugs for me. And that's okay, but that's not for me. It doesn't work for me. Now, this is a pristine publication in Nature. And listen to this. And there's many more like this. Certainly go out there and do your due diligence on testosterone. But it's fucking needed. If you want to be activated, you want to kick ass in life, we need this hormone in the up position. We want testosterone to be optimal for us, but also free testosterone. We've got to get that one up too, because you can have high optimal testosterone, but low free, and you're still not going to feel activated as a man. Research paper. Sexual and non-sexual symptoms of testosterone deficiency can negatively affect quality of life and cause considerable general health concerns. Let's just go through this, right? Low T. And I'll define what low T is coming from Dr. J as we progress. Decreased energy and vitality. Well, shit, that doesn't sound too good. Well-being and motivation tanks. Well, that's certainly not good. Diminished physical or work performance, decreased mood, feeling sad and blue, impaired cognition, increased sleepiness and fatigue. This is what they say is okay for us men, right? As we age, this is what's supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen. We're supposed to keep our T for a very long time and be active men. Like, I'm nearly 52, and I feel as good at 52 as I did in my late teens. And that's no small thing. We've also got poor concentration and memory, increased waist circumference. So you're stacking fat around your abs. Even if you look kind of lean, you still can't see the abs. Reduced testes, so the factories that make your man juice, your testosterone, they actually shrink. But you can walk that back and fix that problem if you haven't left it too late. And over here to the right, low sexual desire, libido, difficulty achieving, climax, and you don't have morning wood anymore. So all of those things go to shit. You pack on the fat, you feel like a lazy loser, and you blame yourself, and everyone around you thinks you're a lazy loser, but that's not the case. And you can get this back. I mentioned at the beginning of this, I'm going to show you one big problem that we see frequently that's screwing men. All of these hormones go to shit when this one thing is wrong. And on the next video, I'm going to show you exactly what that is. We've got to get a comprehensive metabolic blood panel to work out what this is. Now, this is going to piss you off. It pissed me off when I learned about it. But the system doesn't care about your low T. They brush it off, say it's no big deal, and they prescribe you drugs. Drugs do not work, as you'll see after we watch these 3 short videos. Some context here. The first video was in 2020, beginning of 2020. Dr. Amy B. Keelan, MD, expert in sexual health and also longevity. Now, I interviewed Dr. Amy and I wanted to know more about testosterone and what it actually did for men. I wanted to understand that fully. And I was just shook to the core when she said this to me. Listen carefully.
Right, that's right. It's also things that are even more important. You know, we know that men who have lower testosterone levels, they tend to have higher mortality rates in general. So all-cause mortality is higher in men with the lowest quartile of testosterone levels. So we're going to see increases in things like cardiovascular disease. So heart attacks, strokes are going to go up generally if you have low testosterone, increased diabetes, increased obesity, increased problems with mood disorders, depression, insomnia, anxiety. All of that goes up as you have lower testosterone levels. And then certainly sexual dysfunction. So everything from low libido to low sperm counts and infertility are all associated with low testosterone. So it's not something that we should just brush off as being like, it's no big deal. Like, it's kind of a big deal. It actually means that our men are getting less and less healthy, and they're more and more likely to suffer from some kind of disease problem.
Suffer from some kind of disease problem, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, poor kidney and liver health. Your brain could be going to shit. Your body could be turning to mush. Lots of things could be going on. And guess what they do? They prescribe you drugs. And guess what those drugs do? When we get to the third video, you'll understand what these drugs do to us. Now, but before we get there, more context to understand why this is happening to us men. So number 2 here, this is Dr. J.
It's not thriving. It's definitely suboptimal. It's frustrating, honestly. I mean, especially on the topic of testosterone, because if your testosterone goes down, just your health in general goes down. So that opens the door to a bunch of prescription drugs.
Yeah.
And so the pharma companies are very excited about keeping your testosterone down from a financial perspective.
Exactly.
As a business model, it's a good idea for them.
Yeah, I was on prescription medications, blood pressure, anxiety, asthma, all of that shit. And as you'll soon learn, that keeps testosterone down even further. But as an added bonus, well, it's not a fucking bonus, it biases what little testosterone you have to be converted into estrogen. And I'll show you that in a moment. So this is Dr. Ken Berry, board certified MD.
All those things are symptoms of low testosterone, and there's a long list of prescription medications that you might be taking from your doctor, your doctor that you trust, that could actually be plummeting your testosterone levels. I've got a YouTube video about medications that lower testosterone. In case any of you guys are taking a medication, you can watch that video and make sure you're not taking one that does, by definition, lower your testosterone. But if a man has all these symptoms, he's got to get his testosterone checked, number 1. And number 2, he's got to start eating a proper human diet, which consists of the 5 steps I talked about earlier.
All right, so we can see the problem, right? And this has been happening since the 1940s. In the 1940s, Dr. J said to me, a man my age, and I'm 52 this year, and I've never felt better. I feel as good at 52 as I did in my late teens. This V8 engine inside me is revved up. I'm ready to crush it. I perform so well under pressure now. And I used to have panic attacks, performance anxiety, shit like that. No, I don't suffer from that bullshit anymore because I finally got this right. So what we've got to understand is that the system doesn't really care too much about our health and our performance. They just want us to pay our taxes and our super. All the while our body and our brain is turning to mush. We get to 65 with enough spending money for 15 to 20 years. And at the same time, our body is continuing and our brain continuing to turn to mush, and they ship us off to a nursing home. Now, I want to be in my 80s and 90s with optimal testosterone, lean and muscular, thriving and enjoying life. That's what I want. Because if you don't have that, what are you left with? You're supposed to get to 65 and retire, and this is supposed to be the best time of your life. You're free to do what you want. The system is screwing us bad. So a couple of other videos I want to play for you here. And as the great Einstein famously said, blind belief in authority is the greatest enemy of the truth. And another quote that I love, The truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose. It will defend it fucking self. So this is a great video, and this really shines a torch on the problem. Listen carefully to this one.
Imagine if overnight processed foods were banned, annihilated, and people just ate healthy. What would the difference be to diseases like heart disease, diabetes, cancer?
So working for Coke 10 years ago, we had a strategy. Now, processed food companies contribute 11 times more money to nutritional research in the United States than the NIH. And the direct strategy was to fund thousands and thousands of studies to complicate the issue. Still, to this day, elite research institutions are putting out studies questioning whether sugar causes obesity. So it's mass confusion. And then, as you mentioned, the medical system is totally silent on that. They're profiting from it. And I think the key thing to understand is that we've siloed health in every institution, from pharma to med schools to your hospital. They make money on interventions of people that are sick. And as you said, we've siloed diseases into these things. The problem is, Russell, all of the conditions I just mentioned are going up. As we're treating them, as we're spending trillions of dollars to treat these conditions in silos, they're all getting worse. Rates of everything is going up. It's because the foundational reason for all of the diseases you mentioned, Russell, it's very simple, and we're being gaslighted. It's because of food. This is not complicated. We are being poisoned from a rigged food system, and the medical system is profiting.
Stay free. See it first on Rumble.
Okay, so as you can see there, they're profiting from us. And the end result of that is we're not motivated. We get fat, tired, lazy, apathetic. We blame ourselves. We feel like a lazy loser. Not us. Once you get your game back, hormones up, then you can work on the mindsets to take you to the next level of your life. But it's rigged. It's working against us. They want us to be slaves in their system. They don't want us to do well in life. They want us to work in the system. Now, the WEF and all of that shit that's going on, they want us to be busy little bees working in the system so they can profit from us. That's not what I want. And I'm sure that's not what you want. So if you guys like this so far, share this video so we can help reach more men, to wake them up, to understand that they can be active, ass-kicking legends that can live life on their terms and also provide for their family to create a legacy. What are you missing out on when it comes to optimized testosterone and free T? Well, as you can see on screen there, it's a pretty big deal. Significantly slows fat accumulation and improves insulin resistance, which a lot of dudes are suffering from. And it has a primary anti-inflammatory effect. And that's something you might know. And this is Dr. J speaking to that fact. Listen to this.
Discs in the back, it goes back to testosterone. You probably have some low back stuff, but this plus in the sheet, almost everybody complains of low back pain and things.
Yep.
But it's all about testosterone to keep that at bay, to protect against future problems there. Testosterone.
How does testosterone do that?
It shuts off interleukins. And interleukins, kind of like CRP, it's a form of inflammation.
Right. Okay.
And there's 24 of them. There's IL-1, there's IL-2, there's IL-3, all the way to 24. And some of them are in your knees, and some are in your elbows, and some are in your discs in your back, and some are in your brain. Right.
So you got back pain, elbow pain, joint pain, low T. And then that drives arthritis. Then, you feel like shit. You feel old. You ache. It's terrible. Then what testosterone also does, significantly reduces fat mass. So it's putting a lot of energy into the system, and you feel amazing. And testosterone, as Sapolsky said, Professor Sapolsky, it makes you rise to challenges. Now think about that. If you feel like you're being challenged, it's like, I can do this. You better believe I can do this. But it's in a positive way. And it also lowers fear and anxiety. So why doesn't our doctors try and optimize our testosterone? Well, first, they don't know how. And second, the system says, don't do that. Give them these fancy drugs. Let us make all this money. We're the bureaucrats. We want to make money. Just prescribe them these drugs, right? So what their handlers, the doctors mean really well. It's their handlers, big food and big pharma, that are screwing us. They pay billions of dollars for the right to change policy. And this is the big problem. It also increases courage, confidence, and optimism, bone strength and mass, muscle mass and strength, sexual performance, and fertility. And as Huberman said, it helps make effort feel fucking amazing. So you want to get out there and get shit done. And it's required for the brain to have something that's key, so you don't have cognitive decline. It's called trophic support. So testosterone builds things up. It builds your brain up, along with thyroid hormone, DHEA, healthy estrogen, a few other things. And another thing you might know, coming from Sapolsky in his book Behave, so you can certainly check that book out, it's called the Wesley effect. So when you've got high testosterone, you release these pheromones, and these pheromones waft over to the lady, and she finds you more attractive. So we're missing out on a lot. Now, the question you've got to ask yourself is, this is what I call the testosterone equation. What's the likelihood of you getting the body you want, being motivated, building a legacy for your family when you've got low T? What is the likelihood? Well, as you can see, for us men, it's very unlikely. We struggle. We shouldn't be struggling. We should be stepping up, being active and kicking ass when we get this right. And as Huberman said, men in their 90s, not rare, making as much tea and dihydro as they were in their 20s. So you've got to think to yourself, where do you want to be at this part of the game? Still with optimal testosterone up there, or you want it to be down here where you feel like shit, everything's a struggle? Now, one caveat that I'll give you, and this is hard to hear, you will not like to hear this, but you can fix it. Dr. Ken Berry gave me this warning.
Absolutely. It's often too late by the time you've become financially comfortable.
Yeah.
Very often you've done so much damage to every tiny artery in your body that you're now stuck with permanent erectile dysfunction or permanent forgetfulness or permanent insomnia, permanent shortness of breath, chest pain, right? Gut issues. You've done so much damage. Some of it can't be taken back. And that's why I'm so active on social media, constantly reaching out and trying to help people, because once it's too late, you might regain a little bit of that function, but it's never going to be like it once was, and it's never going to be like it could have been. And that's very sad if you think about it, that somebody's basically handicapped for the rest of their life, physically or mentally or emotionally, because of bad dietary decisions that they made for the first few decades of their life that they didn't realize were bad decisions because they had never been trained properly.
The reason you didn't realize they were a bad decision is because of food policy. They want you to eat this junk. And it's confusing, I know, but one thing that we'll understand as we progress is that I and all the people that I help eat to their genetics. So I know what to put in and on my body, how to train in the gym to thrive at a deep hormonal level. And that's huge. That's an unfair advantage. So the final thing that I'll leave you with here is that, the system, what do they say? Low protein diet, right? Don't eat much meat at all. This study reveals that a low protein diet caused significant reduction in body weight. So there goes your muscle mass. It tanks. You put on the fat. Your testes shrink. So they're the factories that make your testosterone. So everything that the government says and they're biasing you to do is screwing you. It's short-changing you. And you've also got the epidermis, seminal vesicle weight, and serum testosterone. Goes to shit. And also, what else do they say? Low-fat diets are all the go. Men adhering to low-fat diets had lower serum testosterone, even when controlling for comorbidities, age, body mass, index, and activity levels. So this woman here says it all.
High testosterone males are a menace to governments. They're independent, don't rely on handouts, disagreeable, won't comply with mandates, protective of their loved ones, will do anything to secure their future. No wonder they're waging a hormonal war against them.
The government, the system, the state, the WEF, all of it. They don't want us to be active. They don't want us to stand up and fight. They want us to pay our taxes, our super. All the while, our body and brain is turning to mush, as Dr. Ken Berry gave you that warning earlier. Then we get financially stable, 65. We've got enough super to last 15 years. And at the same time, over those 15 years, when we're supposed to be living our best life, our body and brain is continuing to turn to mush. Then we're shipped off to a nursing home. But guess what? We can have high optimal testosterone, be active, muscular, all the way up to our 80s and 90s. Now, that's what I want. And the final video that I'll leave you with, this is one of the times that I spoke to Dr. Ken Berry way back in the day when we first started speaking. And this is what he said about our beloved system, state, government, and all the bureaucrats out there.
Then we could work out a solution quite easily to fix this problem. I mean, look at COVID this year. I mean, all these, it's a classic example of exactly what you just explained.
Yeah. And there's a subset of the population in the low carb sphere who believe that the government understands everything you and I just said about cholesterol, and that they actually like it for men and women to have a very low testosterone level, because when your T's low, you tend to just roll over and take it, don't you?
That's it.
Could you imagine trying to govern a population that had optimized testosterone levels, and you were trying to, in some way, force them to do something they didn't want to do, or force them to do something that was just wrong? That would not go well for you if you were the government.
No. Well, when you get a taste of what real energy feels like, and you know, the V8 inside you is roaring, the testosterone and all the hormones are popping, you don't want to go back. I mean, you're done. You can see it for what it is.
Yeah. All right, legend. So if you like this, share it, drop a comment below, and let's get our game back. Let's stand up and fight. Let's build a legacy for our family. Let's be the men we were born to be. Let's not take this shit anymore. They don't want us to be active. They want to control us. They want us to pay our super and our taxes. They don't want us to have health. They want us to get big pharma drugs, which keeps our T down and funds their whole pyramid scheme. And that's what I kind of think about it. So there it is. And the next video, we're just going to go over exactly what you need to do, the very first steps. And as I mentioned, we're going to show you the one thing that we check first. So all of these hormones, growth hormone, oxytocin, follicle stimulating, testosterone, endorphins, melanocyte stimulating hormone, thyroid. You've got luteinizing hormone, gonadotropin releasing hormone, parathyroid hormone. You've got aldosterone, vasopressin, cortisol, sex growth hormone. You've got it all. And one thing can screw that up. One thing. And I was shocked when I learned that. So if you like these videos, drop a comment below, share this so we can reach more men, and I'll see you on the next video, my friend.